ways that you can elicit your requirements. And so when you are assigned to a project, so be it in this internship or maybe in the market out there, so you need to actually determine what elicitation technique that you actually want to use for the project. And so, but the most common method, technique that you can actually use, for to elicit your requirement is the interview. But most times it doesn't fit all projects. So you have to be able to determine what actually fits what I'm actually doing, what is the best way to actually elicit the requirements from your stakeholders. So for the interview, so because if you have a lot of people that you need to reach out to and you have to get a lot of information, so you need to be able to it will take time if you have to go around to meet everyone, and you can bring about 4 different people together to say you want to interview them. So that's not going to be called interview. And so the interview is more or less like one-to-one. And sometimes it could be maybe yourself, and maybe you want to meet with the maybe finance director or maybe finance manager. The manager may bring the administrator along to the interview to just say, just to support. So, but you can still call that interview. So it's more or less like asking, the requirements and what the project is all about. And so for the interview, you have different things that you need to do, which we discussed last time as well. So aside the interview, so you have the workshop. So the workshop is the ones that we actually discussed that as well. So it's also good when you have a lot of people that you need to, that are stakeholders that are interested in this project, that you need to elicit requirements from them. So it's just a way of bringing everyone together to get their ideas, to understand what they're doing, to understand their pain points. So it's also time efficient, because if you're looking at having one-to-one with about 12 people, so you may be looking at 30 minutes each with 12 people, that's about 6 hours. And most times it's not realistic that you'll get it done in 30 minutes anyway. So, but if you just say even 1 hour, that's 12 hours. But if you have a workshop, you could have a workshop for about 5 hours and you'll be able to really get something good out of it. So sometimes your workshop may be better to use. It depends on the number of people that you need to speak with, and that you elicit the requirements, how big the project is. And also in terms of research, which is another way of eliciting your requirement. And so the research is sometimes once you are assigned to a project, most times, even if you have to do interview or workshop, most times when you are assigned to a project, you still have to do your own background work, to understand what that project, similar projects like that is all about. For example, if you're assigned to a project to say you are developing let's say a website. So you need to, maybe if they say, probably maybe e-commerce website, you need to try before you actually meet your project sponsor, your stakeholders, you need to go and research what e-commerce website looks like. What are the features that e-commerce looks like? And with that will actually help you to elicit the requirements from your stakeholder to say, do you want this? What are the things that you want? Even sometimes the stakeholder may not give you all the necessary information, but you, by probing with the idea that you have already, you can actually ask them what they actually want, if they need it or certain features or not on that website. So that's why, so be it a website, be it a system. So once you know what the project you'll be working about, once you know what it's all about, you just need to research on it. And so there are a lot of information out there that you can actually use, on Google Internet to, even if it's a sort of like an accounting system, they said that you want to deploy maybe Salesforce. So you just need to go and read, even if you've not done Salesforce before. So you can just Google it and start reading about the features, the functionalities of a Salesforce. And then, so that will actually help you when you are eliciting the requirements. So that's where the research comes in. But even if you do the research, you still have to use that information that you've gathered, that you've read about, that you've learned about. You still need to actually, use that to discuss with your stakeholders. Then they can confirm, yes, we want that. Yes, we want this. We don't want this. So that's where the research comes in. And the questionnaire, so you use the questionnaire, most times it's just for, we use, when it comes to a quantitative, project, something that has to do with data, that is a lot of data involved. Maybe you are trying to, and you have a lot of people involved as well. So that's why sometimes you do sort of like a survey to say, okay, you want to understand where they are keeping their maybe documents, their files. Maybe you are working on a security project, or maybe a data protection project. There are some projects that involve a lot of people and you need to capture a lot of information. So you can just come up with a questionnaire, send it out to those stakeholders and ask them to send it back to you, within a certain time frame. And once you collect that, once you receive that, then you can start analyzing all the information that has been given to you. And maybe from there, that will actually then will form the basis of your requirements. But that does not mean that you're still not going to validate any requirements that you've written. So it's just a way of capturing information, from your stakeholders. And in terms of prototyping, and so the prototyping is also, so it is a way of, you use that to elicit requirements from the, it's more or less like building sort of like a sample, like, to a prototype of a system, to actually, to elicit requirement from your stakeholder. Sometimes the stakeholder, they may not even have an idea, but they just tell you that we need, a website, a working website or a shopping website. But because they are new, it could be maybe they are startup and they just need something, but they don't really know all the functionalities that they actually need to have on that website. Fine, they may know a basic functionalities, but at least, building something, or maybe using sort of like a demo, put something in place to say, okay, this is what we think. So how will you like your homepage to be arranged? Will you like your logo? So what color will you like your homepage, the background? Where will you want the contact us to be? Your basket? Will you like a basket? Will you like sort of like a payment icon to be on top right hand side? Things like that. It will actually help and guide the users to give you the requirements that they actually, they want, for that system. So it just helps them, to give you all the necessary information, and it aids, your discussion as well. And so shadowing is also, by, watching people, how they carry out their activities as well. So it could be maybe for a day or for 2 days. You want to understand, the problem they are facing, how long it's taking them to do some certain jobs. So there are some certain projects that you just need to, see how those people are carrying out their activities. And that will actually help you to put that, they need to automate some process, or they need to introduce a certain thing, So shadowing also help you to actually get some requirements. It may not be all. So some requirements, that is needed. But even if you get that, you still need to actually discuss that with your stakeholders at the same time. So, and you can combine, interview with shadowing. You can combine it together. You can combine multiple techniques together, to be able to. Sometimes you may be assigned to a project, you may have to do interview and at the same time, all the workshop with some certain group. So because sometimes you may not expect maybe the CEO or maybe a certain director, to come and sit with other managers or staff. So there are some maybe senior stakeholder you may need to have interview with. You have the interview with them, and other people you just do sort of like a mass workshop with other people. So you can combine, multiple techniques, with your stakeholders, so you can combine it. And that's that one. And so in terms of interview, so your interview, so when you are doing your interview, like we said, is the most common one. You need to understand who you need to interview and why you need to interview them. And like I said last week, you need to always ensure that you start your interviewing with the most senior stakeholder, because it's the person that will give you like the high level overview of what the project is all about and who you need to speak with as well. So they'll be able to direct you to say, okay, can you speak with the admin or the payroll administrator, is the person that actually processes all those invoices? Or can you speak with the HR manager, the person who also will actually feed them, So the senior stakeholder will actually give you all the necessary information that you need. So always start your interview with the most senior person, stakeholder, when you are gathering the requirements. And so once you know who you need to speak, who you need to interview, you need to understand, prepare yourself. You need to know, why do you want to interview? Is it because they need some certain features on the requirements, or to fit into the requirements, or why? Or you just want to get their buy-in, or you just want to let them be aware? So you need to have a reason, to be able to, why you want to interview that person. And so what do you want to ask them? So you need to know what you're asking your product owner or your project sponsor, whoever your stakeholder is. You need to, prepare your questions. And then, so definitely, before or when you need to actually, speak with them, before you start documenting your requirements, you need to speak with your stakeholders to actually know what you need to document anyway. So, and with terms of the location, you can have that, via virtual, and you can have face-to-face. So you have those options now that you can, the location. So it's not necessarily that has to be face-to-face. So you can have that virtual. And also in terms of the interview as well, we discussed about, you need to do some prep, like last week, I think we discussed about the, preparing your agenda, sending out your invites, and the interview must not be more than 1 hour, because by the time it's more than 1 hour, everybody will be fed up, and, they may even lose interest and be bored. So you mustn't conduct your interview more than 1 hour. And so the location, like we said, it can be virtual. And the structure of the interview, you introduce yourself and you set the scene, to say this is what you're trying to do. And you start asking the questions. You may come up with some certain question that you prepared. And one thing is that by the time they are giving you some feedback in responses, you could actually even have probed that further. So it's not that you just have to follow the script that you've actually, put down. You can go off the script and, have various questions, because one question may lead to another anyway. And so then you just close the interview once you do that. And once you conduct your interview, then you can just tell them the next step. Are you going to document it, for the next 2-3 weeks? Just let them know what you need to do. And you that definitely once you finish your interview, that means you start putting all those information together to document it. And one thing is that you just need to ensure that you get those requirements signed off anytime, be it Agile or you are using Waterfall. You need to ensure that your requirements is being signed off as well. And so the other workshop is the eliciting is the workshop. So that's where you have, a lot of people that's actually attended the workshop. It's because it's still the same project, and all these people, they have interest in it. So you could have multiple departments in here, and imagine. So that's why when you are planning your workshop, you need to ensure you have the agenda in place, everything is structured, because you cannot afford about 20 people leaving their work, their day-to-day job for 4 hours or 3 hours and not getting value, or you are not getting value for the workshop. So that means it will be a waste of time, a waste of resources and money, for the organization. So you have to ensure that what's the objective of the workshop? What are you trying to get out of the workshop? So you need to ensure that you actually plan that properly and everything is coordinated, and you ensure that if you're trying to get it, so make sure you prepare yourself properly before the workshop. So all the necessary materials that you may use, that you may need, definitely you need to get that in place. And so that it won't be, oh, we are missing this, or we can't do this. So just ensure that you do that. And so we take the question at the end of the once I finish the introduction. And so once you do all this, so once you have and like as a BA, you don't coordinate, you actually facilitate. So that's why you need to ensure when you go for an interview and when you are trying to refer to a workshop, you have to say you facilitate, workshop. We facilitate, we don't coordinate or we don't manage. We use that word, that vocabulary as facilitate. So that's the language that we use when we are, doing sort of things like this in a workshop. We facilitate. And sometimes you may be two assigned to a project. It is a big project. You may have 2 BAs or 3 BAs. And one thing is that, you among the 3 of you, you just need to ensure who will be facilitating, who will be typing, who will be taking notes, who will be, maybe handing out materials, things like that. You just need to arrange that, among yourself. And so the workshop, you start by introduction, still the same thing. You introduce yourself, you set the scene, overview of the project, why you are there, and you share the agenda as well, that these are the things that you're going to be discussing, and you let them know that, within that. So once you call up the first one to say, okay, let's discuss about the pain points, then you time it as well. And so they must have time for anything that you're doing, because if not, if you just leave it open-ended, so 20 minutes, people may still be writing something, and so that's why you need to plan. You need to ensure that you plan yourself, you plan the workshop properly with time. Once you have the agenda in place, then you can ensure that you follow that through. So the workshop is still about asking the questions. So you could discuss pain points first. You could discuss, okay, the processes, okay, their requirements, you just whatever you want to discuss with them that relates to the project in terms of the requirements, and maybe you want to identify the gaps, you want to understand the processes, you want to understand the systems that are connected with what you're trying to do. So all those things just need to be, depending on whatever you put it on the agenda anyway. So you just ensure that you work through that at the same time. And then so like I said, the workshop techniques. So when you are doing a workshop, you have different techniques that you can use. The post-it exercise is when you use all this, these sticky notes. So you have different colors. So when you are doing that face-to-face, you always ensure you have different colors, of post-it exercise, so that by the time you're asking them to write something, they can use different color. You can say, okay, for the pain points, can you pick up red sticky notes on your table and write your pain points there? So the pain point is the problem they are facing at the moment. So then you can ask them to write it, to write on it. And you just instruct them that just write one problem on each sticky note. So if they have 5 problems, 5 pain points, they should write it on 5 sticky notes. So one, so you always write one, on a sticky notes. So, and if you're talking about maybe what they want at the same time, so you can still use post-it exercise that they should write it. And once they write it like that, you can ask them to put it on the board, maybe on the wall, wherever you want them to put it. So, but it's just that they write it on the post-it exercise. Everyone pick it and write. And if some people, if they don't have anything to write, they don't need to write anything. But definitely you see a lot of people anyway that will write, that will be interested in participating. And so the brainstorm, instead of you using post-it exercise, you can just say, okay, now we want to look into the current process, the assist process. Can we talk through all the activities that we actually run through this current process? Then people will be, shouting it, and they will be telling you, why you are writing it on the board, that everybody will be seeing it. Or it could be that you just say, we want to discuss about what are the features that we need for this new system, or the proposed system. Then they will be, calling it out. Then you will just be writing it on the main board. If you are using whiteboard or you are using a flip chart, at least as you are writing it, people are seeing it. And as they are seeing it, it will help some other people to also think about what is needed at the same time. So that's why, the visual actually helps other people to think more. It's used that to generate more ideas as well. And so the other type is the round robin. This is a method whereby you ask them, to respond turn by turn. Once you ask maybe the person sitting here, you can go on to the next person that, okay, what's your own pain points? Next person, what's your pain points? And it's just asking them in turn, one after the other. So instead of just allowing them to anyone to just call out their ideas, you ask them one by one in turn, so till it goes around everyone. And so the breakout is another technique. So whereby you divide them, you group them into smaller group. It could be group of 4, group of 3, or group of 5, depending on the number. So, and you ask them to discuss as a group. So if you're still talking about the pain points, so you can say, okay, so for these pain points, can you discuss as a group? Can your group, each group write the pain points that they've come up with? And so you still give them time with that as well. So you can now say, okay, you have 5 minutes to write that. So each group will discuss, they will discuss as a group, write it down. Then at the end of the 5 minutes, then you can say, okay, group 1, can you tell us your pain points that you've written? Then they will start reading it out. There you will be writing it on the board at the same time. But it's just that they've done it in a collective way. They've done it, come up with all those pain points as a group. So likewise, if you are discussing about the requirements, anything you are discussing and you want to use that, so you can do that at the same time. And the other one is brainwriting. So instead of them, shouting it at the same, like this brainstorming, so it's just that they are writing it down. And by the time they write it, they will put it, so each person will be writing, on a sheet, each sheet of paper. So once they write one point, they will put it in the middle. They will pick another one that maybe Mr. B has already written. Another person will pick it, develop on that, add to that list. They will put it back again. So the other person will pick again and, pick another one. They will, everybody was just like, building up on what others has written. So it's more or less like, at the end of the day, you may now like, okay, 5 minutes is done. So that means in one paper, you may have about 5 people that's input, written something on that 5 paper or on that single, sheet of paper. So that's another way of brainwriting. So for any of this workshop technique, you can combine it. You can use post-it exercise and brainstorming in one workshop. You can use round robin and breakthrough. You can combine any of these techniques at the same time. So it's not that when you're having your workshop, you just have to stick to one. No, you can use multiple techniques during the workshop, depending on whatever fits what you are discussing. And yeah, and I think that's all about the so the workshop and the interview are the most common techniques that we actually use to elicit the requirements. So sometimes when these others in the past I've used observation in the past as well. So it's just helped me to understand how they carry out the activities. Then I can, because sometimes they may not tell you some things, but while you are seeing them doing it, you can actually pick up some other things as well, that maybe you need to capture or you need to discuss with them. And then you can say, okay, I noticed that when you were creating the invites, you have to access about maybe about 5 systems. Could they give me the list of the system? Why do you have to do that? So that could even be maybe one of the problems that they need to or maybe find a solution to, and they didn't actually see it as a problem, but you picked that up. So things like that, sometimes it's just and sometimes they may even be explaining their processes to you, and it just seems complicated the way they say it. But while you see them doing it, you may actually see that, okay, this is how they do it. Maybe there's a way we could simplify it. So sometimes it's just you may need to do that, but not all projects that you have to shadow or you have to observe them doing some certain things. So it just depends. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we can go through the questions now. Okay. Let's see who was raised up. Lola. No, Lola here.
Hi.
Ayo.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one, I'd like to ask, who signs off the requirements?
Sorry?
Who signs off the requirements?
What types?
Who signs off the requirements? You said that we need to ensure to get our requirements signed.
Yes. Okay. So when you gather your requirements, you ensure, I'm sure somebody's still going to take you about the requirements gathering. So imagine now you've conducted your interview or your workshop, and so you have the requirements which you need to document. And so even when you document it, it could be that you have to do it in a Word or Excel before you actually put it onto Azure DevOps or Jira. So at that point, you just need to, before you put it in a Jira, or you just need to ensure that your stakeholder review what you have documented to ensure that you captured it is correct, for completeness and to ensure that it's actually accurate, the information you put down. So they need to review it. That's when they now sign it off. So it definitely is going to be by email to say, oh yeah, I'm happy with the requirements that you've documented. Then everybody will know that that has been signed up by the stakeholder. Then the developer, they can actually start maybe working on that. So depending on how the project is structured, yeah. So we just need to get that after you've documented it. That's when you get a sign off.
Okay. I suppose that in reality, the stakeholders will mean the executives.
It's not necessary that it has to be executives. And so if you were at the session last week, so your stakeholder could even be your end user. It's not necessary that they have to be executive. So your stakeholder could be somebody, it could even be the administrator of that maybe a particular team or department using the system. So as long as they are a user of that system, definitely, and a stakeholder is not necessary that they have to use the system. Sometimes it could be that probably maybe it feeds into their own system. So they have interest, they want to know how this project is going to impact them. So they're still stakeholder. So, but when I'm talking about somebody that needs to sign up the requirements, so definitely it has to be maybe sort of like a manager or a senior person within that team. So, but it's possible that you gather the requirements from the administrator, the manager, and maybe another person. But whoever that is, let's say you've gathered requirements from 3 different people from finance. So you definitely you send the requirements to the most senior person, within that team. Then you copy those people in that have actually contributed to that requirement as well. And then so they cannot decide to say, oh, maybe administrator look at your own requirements, is it okay? Or maybe 3 of them may even review it together, and one person, it could be that the one person will just review and say, okay, everything seems fine, yeah, go ahead, yeah, we'll sign it off. So it depends. So if you have about five different departments that have contributed to that, to that document that have given you, so you just have to obtain, sign off from those five different departments that you've actually signed it off. So, and because in your documentation you have like like the reviewer and approver of whoever that have signed off the requirements anyway. So you should always ensure. So it could be so like, because the finance manager cannot sign off the requirement that actually belongs to procurement. So you have to send the copy of that file to the procurement manager as well, for them to sign off their home parts. So that's how
Okay.
it works.
Okay, so for the sake of this internship now that we don't have all those people, can
Yeah.
the Scrum Master sign off?
No. So the Scrum Master has a different role, because the Scrum Master is just there to facilitate, your Scrum team and your sprint, all the sprint planning and daily stand-up, all the sprint retrospective. So when you gather your requirement, I'm sure you have a product owner. So the
Yes, yes.
product owner, and you may have maybe somebody else that will be standing as a project sponsor. So assuming that you have those 2 roles, product owner and project sponsor, so depending, and because your product owner will actually know the vision of the roadmap anyway of what you're trying to do. So the product owner gives you the requirements, or the project sponsor gives you the requirements. So once you gather your requirements, you document it, even if you're working in a sprint, because if you document your requirements for sprint 1, so once you document that, you send it to the product owner or project sponsor, whoever gives you the requirement, to actually review it and give sort of like sign up. So it definitely is just an email to say, yes, everything seems fine, yeah, you can push that, that's it. So you still need to send it back to that person to validate those requirements, because I know some people will say, oh, we don't, during sprints, they do actually get sign off because it's agile, so they can rework it. So, but you just need to understand that you don't want people to even spend. I know agile is actually, is easy to actually make some changes, but something you can get right the first time. So why will you send something that maybe the stakeholder has not reviewed, and then definitely maybe something there's sort of like a mistake in there, or maybe the person that gave you the requirements made a mistake at that time, and they actually implement it. Imagine maybe they've spent about 15 hours of the developer, you've actually spent how many hours to document that, and at the end of the day, it's only when you are doing your show and tell that they now realize that it is actually a wrong thing. So it's always good, something that you can just do maybe within 5 minutes, just to send an email to say, oh, could you please review the requirements that you've actually that I've documented, that you actually gave to us. We've documented it. Could you review and provide your sign off? So once you provide the sign off, then that can be pushed to your backlog to say, okay, the developer can pick that up, and they can start working on that. So yeah, so be it a product owner, whoever gives you the requirements, either product owner or project sponsor, even if it's both of them, you have to send it to both of them to say, can you review the documents, the requirements, and provide your sign off? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, for the sake of this internship, to facilitate workshops, are we using the whiteboards on Microsoft Teams?
Yeah. Well, so you have to determine what you actually want to use. So you can use there a lot of a lot of what's it called out there that you can actually use, a lot of collaboration tools. Like you have Mura, you have Miro, you have Teams. So if depending on what your maybe the during the hint, I'm sure they will tell you the tools that you need to use. But you can
Okay.
use Teams if you're having a virtual meeting, with your stakeholder. Even if the person, if you are using Teams to meet with your stakeholder, with your project sponsor or product owner, you can decide to use Miro. You can just, open another application, and the Miro, you can use that to actually, do the collaboration in there. And you can use the whiteboard on Microsoft Teams as well. So
Okay.
what matters is that you are able to actually get the necessary information that you need. So if you want to use a whiteboard, go for it. If you want to use post exercise, or you want to use Mora or Miro, go for it. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Wumi Adeyinka.
Hello, hi. Thank you. Just a question. Basically, you mentioned earlier on about depending on the size of the project. So assuming it's projects where I'll give you two scenarios. One where you've got it's a big project, so they probably have 3 BAs on it. So there's a possibility where one could be facilitating, where one is, or 2 BAs. So one is facilitating, and one is making notes and jotting down the requirements being discussed and everything. But in a situation where you've got only one BA who's facilitating, you've got a big workshop, um, there's a possibility of the BA struggling to catch all the requirements being shouted out or discussed. You could miss some. So how would that scenario play out? That's the first question.
Okay,
Second
let me
question.
first,
Okay.
sorry, let me just answer that first. So, so when you are doing that, so if it's, that's why, because before you actually embark on the workshop, you would have known, because you planned for the workshop, you know the number of people you invited anyway. So let's say you invited about 15 or 20 people. So you may discuss with maybe your team member, you could discuss with your project manager or your product owner, depending on the size thing, to say, oh, I'm going to need help, support. I need somebody to support me for this workshop. So because most times, like in my place of work, sometimes when we're having workshop like that, we have the project manager may come and say, okay, do you need any support? We work as a team. So find the BA will still be, because actually owns that workshop, is responsible for it. So the BA will be facilitating, and other people can, support to be taking notes down, depending. And that's why sometimes you can actually, if you think you are the only one, and in the situation whereby you just happen to be the only one, there's nobody to support you, you can decide to use post-it exercise. So because when you use the post-it exercise, all the things, everything they will write, most of the things they will write it on the post-it notes anyway. So you take all those things away at the end of the session, and you will go and write up on it. And even if you have to, there are some things that you still have to write on the board, maybe in terms of the process, they are telling you the process. And so because when it comes to you can't use process exercise like that, for a process, although there's a way you can do it, but let's assume this time you are the one actually they are calling out the process for you and you're writing it out. You just take it slowly and say, okay, hold on, yeah, so you said so you send that document to accounts. So like, when do you send it? So you just make sure you actually in charge, you take control.
You
And if you
dictate the
didn't
pace.
catch anything, ask them to repeat.
So you're literally dictating the pace.
Oh,
That's a
yes, yes,
possibility. Okay.
yes, yes.
Oh, good. Thank you. What was the second question? The second question was, is it an anomaly, or is it unheard of to record the session? Is that something that's been practiced? Is it industry practice? Is it acceptable?
Um, well, so like if you are using Teams, like in my place of work, so sometimes, because it's not everything, sometimes that is not every time you can capture everything, sometimes, to be honest. And sometimes, or because we do use Microsoft Teams because most times, as in, let's say for the past how many, wherever I've been doing virtual workshop
Yeah.
and interview like that. So what I do is that I will seek the permission. I will say, oh, could you please, do you mind if I record the session? Because I just want to ensure that by the time after this session, I will listen to it, to ensure that I capture all the necessary information.
Mm.
100% or 99, I've not seen anybody that actually objected to that. Most time they will say, no problem, go for it. Because they know that I have to use that recording to actually type up my notes. But at the same time, while recording, most times I do share my screen, to type whatever information they are giving to me. Most times, if it's something that I'm not showing me anything on their screen. So I may be sharing my screen, to be so that they will be seeing what I'm typing. But it's just that the recording is like a backup for me. So I can listen to it to ensure that everything I've captured, in my notes on the screen actually corresponds to what has been, recorded. So you can, but you just need to seek their permission. You need to
Permission.
seek their consent, to it when you are, so don't just click recording. So always seek
Yeah,
consent. Yeah, you can do.
obviously. Yeah. That will work in a virtual scenario though, where you have
Yes,
face to face,
yes.
and you've got a large group of
Oh,
stakeholders and SMEs and PM,
um,
you or SLTs, then you will need to get assistance, like you said,
uh,
speak to your PO
yes,
or PM and get someone to do the drafting for you
yes.
if you struggle.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah, in
All right.
workshop setting, definitely, if it's face to face, definitely you may not be able to record. So because you have a lot of people talking at the same time, and because you're not really doing live streaming, so
Sure.
that's why you need them to write it down. Most times, or maybe telling you why they are seeing it on the board that you are writing it anyway. So yeah, you may not be able to do that. Yeah,
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
you're welcome. Mohammed, please.
Uh, Sorry, I just want to ask regarding all these techniques. So can we have like something like an example? Let's say the interview, like, this is like a template I've used before in my practice. This is how let's say like, there's a way you record things and, yeah, is there anything like that? So.
Yeah, so all this, so the technique, is just a method. So, but it's your documentation of the requirements that you may need a template for. And in every organization, they do have a template. Most times, the organization, if it's a standard, like a, proper setup, so you have a template. They will have a template for their business requirements documents. They will have a template for, for the acceptance criteria, or maybe if what they use for user stories, all those things. So they will have a template that can guide you in a way. So, but it's just that you just need to know what to put in each section. For example, for when you are modeling your process, definitely no template for that, because they expect you to just, map that and attach it or embed it within a file, or maybe, create that Excel or Visio file separate. So, but for your BRD, for your requirements, yeah, sure, you have a template that you can actually use.
Sorry, please. I'm just talking about like, the elicitation techniques. Like, let's say like interview now. This is how like, like you are a practitioner, you work in this space. Yeah, like this is like if I want to conduct interview, this is how I do it. This is like the template I use. This is how I structure my question. So is there something like that?
No one will actually, expect you to have a template, for so during the interview, even if they ask you, there are some certain questions they may ask you that, so what are the techniques that you use, or how do you I'm trying to come up, how do you facilitate your workshop? Then you have to go to, what you just need to say is that, oh, when I was working on this, let's say SAP project, I had to have a workshop with about 25 people. So I made sure that I planned for it. I put the agenda in place, and I used breakout session and the brainstorming session whereby I have to elicit the requirements. You just have to tell them like the more or less like the process that you've taken to actually carry out the workshop, and what the interviewer will be looking at for is what are the things that you actually did, what technique did you use. That's what they want to know. And there are some key things that they want to look at that, okay, do you send them, how did you conduct it? You understand? How did you facilitate? Were you the only one? Did you have people supporting you? So it's just like you telling a story of what you have done, on the workshop. So, but they won't ask you sort of like, there's nothing like, we don't usually have a template for workshop. So it's just an agenda. So you work based on the agenda that you've put down.
Yeah, it's just like, because with the line of my work now, I kind of do interview. So when you do interview, do you actually record it? Or how do you, because sometimes like, interview can be lengthy. Some interview can go for 30 minutes or more than that. Mm-hmm. And talking at the same time and writing can be somehow difficult. Like, how do you keep track of like what you do? Do you record it? I just want to know, like, I'm just curious about it.
Yeah, so that's why I said earlier, the person when I didn't actually ask that question. So if it's face-to-face, you can, to be honest, you may not be able to record that if it's face-to-face. But I know some people do it discreetly, but you may not be able to do that. You can't just because it's your personal phone. Except your laptop that you are using. Maybe you've taken your laptop to that interview when you're having that face-to-face, and that laptop has a recording wherever mode. Some people may do it, but like in the past, what I've done, even if it's face-to-face, and I just ask them questions, then I've warned the stakeholder to say, sorry, I have to be typing down, so what I'll be asking you. And as I'm asking them question and I'm tapping at the same time, it could be key points that I'm going to just type down. So that's why that's the reason you actually have the opportunity for them to sense check what you have actually typed down. So but these days, to be honest, if it's something that you can do virtually, it's better because you can actually have the opportunity to use the Teams. If you're using Microsoft Teams in your organization, you can use that recording to actually record your interview with your stakeholder.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a nice one. Is it Olu? Sorry, I'm just trying to. Olubukola, yeah.
Thank you very much. I was just going to ask the difference between the project sponsor and the product owner. Can you explain, please?
Okay, so the project sponsor, so that's the person that is actually, like accountable, for the success of that project. So the person may not necessarily be giving you requirements. So it's just that the person is responsible in terms of providing that, funds, resources, everything that is needed, that is required for the success of that project. And the product owner is actually more or less like the voice of the stakeholders, the voice of the customers. So the person will actually understand the vision of what, of the organization or of the products. The person will understand the roadmap of whatever products that you are delivering. So the product owner, most times, they would have been the one interacting with the stakeholders to actually understand what needed to be delivered, what you need to develop, what products needs to develop at what time, that roadmap, they will know the vision of the, the organization or the customer, what they're trying to achieve, what needs to be done at what time. So and it could be the product owner. Sometimes it could be some projects. It could be the product owner has all the necessary requirements that needs to be, documented, that you need to document. So is this product owner that you speak with, and so sometimes it could be that probably maybe in conjunction the project sponsor may also have some requirements, while the product owner will also have their own requirements as well. So it just depends on the setting, but it's two different roles. So more or less like the product owner is actually working for the project sponsor in a way. If you're looking at the hierarchy, so the project sponsor is above, and so the person has assigned the product owner to actually be doing, the work for them. And it could be somebody, one person who is a project sponsor may also be acting as a product owner. So, but there's a difference in the definition in terms of their roles and responsibility. So, but like it's just like when they say a project manager is also acting as a BA. So the person may be wearing two hats. So likewise, the project sponsor may also be wearing the hat of a product owner. So, but they have two different roles, but the person may be carrying out, both roles together. Does that explain that? Are you satisfied with that? Or any more question on that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Jiboye, please. Jiboye Olawale, are you there? If not, can we move on to Oyedikachi? Sorry if I didn't pronounce that properly here.
It's fine. Good evening. I wanted to ask about validating requirements. What does it entail?
Okay, so when you write your requirements, so now you've carried out your elicitation, you've documented it, and so you actually, because before you would have done your analysis as well to see where the problem is, where you're trying to, or what kind of solution are they going to be able to, to recommend and all this stuff. So once it's documented in your BRD or your Excel, whatever document template you are using, so you need to, the validation there is, for your stakeholders to actually check. So the validate is just for them to check what you have written down to ensure that is actually, same with what they've expected, their expectation or the information, because it's possible that probably maybe administrator may give you a requirement because probably maybe the manager said, oh, speak with the administrator, and the administrator has given you the requirements. But when you are sending that, definitely you copy the administrator, but you are sending it to the manager to approve. So the person may not, the manager may like, oh no, we are going to change that. That's not how we want that. So you have the opportunity. So that's the validation, that process that you've sent that to the stakeholder, to the manager, actually, giving them the opportunity to correct what has been documented, because it was admin that actually gave you that information. But the manager now saying, oh no, that's not how it's going to be, So it's more or less like approving, checking and approving, what you have documented. So during the validation, you send the document to your stakeholders that's contributed to the requirements, all the requirements. They will review it, they will provide comments, and during that time, it's possible that they will actually give you additional requirements. So that's where your version control comes in. It keeps changing as they are giving you additional requirements. You're sending out this, give you another one, that means the version will change. So until you get that, and once each and every one of them is happy with it, then if everyone is happy, then that's when they provide a sign-up. Even finance may provide sign-up because they're already happy with what their own section. Procurement may not be happy with it. So that means you have to, recirculate that, and to ensure that everyone is able, everyone is able to provide their sign-off. But if you're working in agile, so it could be that the product owner may say, oh, this is the priority, we just need to look at finance first. So you may just need to get maybe once you capture your requirements from the, from finance team, that means it's only the finance team that you send that requirement to validate and provide sign off. So it just depends on whatever documentation, the area, the scope of, of that requirements that you are sending, then then you send it to appropriate to validate and provide sign off. Yeah, so that's the process there. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So any other question?
Ajibori is ready. I don't know if I can ask
Ajibori,
my question. Yes.
yeah, okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, thank you so much for the brainstorming so far. However, I just have a few questions to ask. Let me see 2 questions. Number one of it is for a BA in a normal office environment. Okay, let me say you as an experienced BA, what are the strongest, one challenge that you have faced, and how did you conquer that challenge? Number 2, in this our internship section, can you just name 1 or 2 challenges that we should prepare for and how we can navigate around it? So the last one is this.
Please let me take. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So let me take that one by one. So the first one, saying, so to be honest with you, as a BA, you face a lot. I can't even say one, to be honest, because sometimes you may have to deal with some stakeholders that they will actually not. They may tell you that you may even send them email that you want to have interview with them, and they won't respond on time. You understand? They won't even respond to you. So that means you have to keep chasing them, send these several emails. And sometimes, some people just have that habit of ignoring, they'll be like, what? So you may need to escalate to say, although before you escalate, if it's something that you are actually in the building with that person, you can walk up to them to now say, oh, sorry, I've been sending you an email regarding the meeting because I'm supposed to meet you to actually, gather requirements from you regarding this projects. Oh, the person, okay, yeah, okay, no problem. Okay, I will accept that. That's another way. But if assume that you are working remotely and you can't, and they may be ignoring, all you just need to do, you escalate to your project manager or to product owner to let them know that you've been trying to reach out to this person. You've sent several emails and that the person is not, responding. So sometimes you see people like that. And then, sometimes it could be that probably maybe it's just an invite that you send to them. They just ignore it, or they may not even turn up. Things like that is very annoying, and you've already prepared. And so such things do happen as well. And sometimes the project manager, sometimes they do, in some project managers, they do feel superior. They'll be like, oh, they are superior to the BA sometimes, and they may just want to ask you to do something that is really, unrealistic, and maybe the timeline they may give you to say, oh, you have to complete this. So that's why whenever you join a project, you need to actually, ask, what's your role on that project? Because sometimes your role could just be to support in maybe any testing. Maybe they have another person that will be doing the requirements gathering, or you are just there to support. So you need to actually understand, what is my role on this project? What are my deliverables? So what is the timeline? Then you have to work, with that. And if the person is actually giving you a unrealistic timeline, then you can say, I'm sorry, I'm going to use 2 weeks or 1 week to elicit for requirements. It's going to take me about 4 days to, you have to have that prepare yourself to say, is going to that estimation of time to say, I'm going to do this, and I will give them 48 hours to review. So if you do that, so it's not possible to do that. So, things like that. So sometimes such thing could happen, but you just need to be able to ensure you manage it properly. You don't you don't show it that probably maybe you are unhappy with them. So, but just try and ensure that you actually resolve it amicably. But sometimes your project manager could actually do stuff like that sometimes, to put you under pressure. But it's just about negotiation anyway. Yeah. Okay. And the next one, also, in terms of the interns here, I know that definitely it could be demanding, to be honest, to say you have to get this done so time. So, but like I said, you just need to ensure, but because I know that it's going to be probably maybe 2 week sprint or so. So depending on your sprint duration. So, but you just need to ensure that whatever task is given to you is something that could fit in, within that sprint. And if not, negotiate, with your product owner or wherever, just negotiate. So, and so I may not be able to help you with other challenges you may face, but I'm sure the mentors will help you, could give you hints on those challenges, maybe that I can't really mention at the moment. And your third question.
Okay. The last question for tonight is, okay, business analyst. Is there any space for him or her in an engineering setting?
Okay, when you say engineering setting, like, could you give a bit of information on what they do in that engineering?
Okay, right. Okay, let me say, a construction where you build oil servicing firm. Is there a space for him?
Oh,
where you
yes.
build platforms, where you do a lot of projects, projects.
Yeah, so if you actually if you attended the session that we did last week, the introduction. So, yes, in terms of the industry, I actually mentioned it that you can actually work in any industry. In construction, for example, if you're working in the engineering, so because all this, as long as that they are doing projects, so for example now, so let's say the rail industry, which we can still say engineering, or maybe the contractors that they give the rail projects to, definitely will say there is engineering stuff. So in terms of that, so they have to actually work with the customer to say, what are we doing? So what are the things that they want your organization to actually do? So in terms of the engineering, are we building a house? Are we building a bridge? What type of how many miles bridge? So is it going to have, what type of probably maybe materials that they want them to use? So in terms of the workload, in terms of the traffic, estimated traffic on it, all those things. So as long as they are doing projects, and so yes, I would say a BA can work, and even oil industry, oil sector. So because most times they do have a lot of projects that they do as well. It could be they are building, oil rigs. They are doing, they are probably maybe probably developing some application to help them, for that all sorts of things. It could be, software stuff that will help them with all those whatever they are doing. So most industries, definitely BA can work there, except if they don't want to use BA and they just want maybe the project manager or project planner to provide some certain information. So that's why sometimes, some people, they just don't, they don't recognize that the need of that BA. They just want to, maybe they don't want to spend that money, or they are not just really keen about the standard of the requirements that they actually, that is being documented for them. So, but in every organization, once you have a project that you want to do, if you want to do it properly, definitely you should have a BA. Like I was telling somebody a few days ago, I've not really thought of any industry that I can't really see BA working, to be honest. I've not, except if it's a one-man business and the person does not really have much to do. So yeah, you can work in engineering. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Rose.
Hello. I'd like to know, during the course of the project, are all the sprint duration the same?
Do you mean like sprint 1 is going to be 2 weeks and sprint 2 is going to be 2 weeks? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I guess so, but I think either the wise, I'm sure Bolu can say that, or maybe Deji, yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone. Yes, the duration will be 2 weeks. So we operate 2 week sprints here on the internship. So throughout, so every of your sprints will be 2 weeks duration.
I'm actually referring to real life scenarios, like if I'm in a company, for example.
Oh.
Yeah.
It depends on your organization.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Bolu. Yeah. So it depends on the organization. So sometimes you could have 4 weeks, and some people could do 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So it depends on the project and how the organization actually want to run that. And I've worked on a project before that we actually, I think we're doing 1 week sprints. so more or less like back to back. So it was really, although sometimes we do have slippage, to be honest. So, but we actually, I think we actually did weekly, like 1 week sprints or so, if I remember correctly, except maybe I'm not, because it's been a few years now. Yeah, but I think, no, sorry, I think it's 2 weeks. Yeah, sorry. I think the minimum that I've done was actually 2 weeks anyway, 2 week sprints, yeah. But sometimes you could do 4 weeks, yeah, depending. Okay, yeah, is Lola raising hand again here?
Yeah, I think Rose was asking if the sprint duration will be consistent. Like if it's 2 weeks, would it be 2 weeks every sprint throughout the project? Or if it's 4 weeks, will it be 4 weeks consistently?
Okay, yes. So once the start is a 2 weeks, definitely it will be consistent throughout the project. Most times that's what they do. That's the practice that I know a lot of organizations that have worked. That's what they do. So if it's a 2 week sprint for that project, it will be, except probably maybe they finish that phase and they will now want to maybe kick off maybe phase 2. They may decide to now go 4 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks. So, but if you started 2 weeks, maybe for that phase, definitely to be 2 week sprints, yeah. Okay. And so Bob, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Rose. Yeah, and Zoom, yeah, Bob.
Oh, hello, can I speak? My
Yes.
hand is up.
Yeah.
Yeah, my issue is, well, my line has been going on and off. First of all, I want to find out if I'm with the right group. Is this the BA meeting?
Yes, this is the BA meeting.
Right, but my problem is with are you able to, I've seen that they've sent a list for the groupings. Are you able to communicate to each group separately, like each course group separately? Because with the Telegram, it's too many information on there. It's very overwhelming and it's hard for me to keep up with all the information. And also, when I saw my name on the list, it said that I should click on the Teams link below to join a meeting for today. But whilst I was texting, I tried it, it didn't work. And now when I text, it was suggested to me to rather join a Zoom link. So it's too much. For me, it's very conflicting and confusing information and a lot of messages on that Telegram for me. So my suggestion is, with BA group, for example, can you create a group, like a platform for them separately, and communicate with us with the links, the right links to join, so to make it easy for for us to be able to join a meeting and not be late, or and also be sure that we are with the right group.
Okay, that's noted. Thank you, and apologies for that. I'm sure the admin will look into that. And I'm sure, I think there's a group that is being created anyway. Maybe they are doing it at the moment, or they've done it. I'm sure Bolu will be able to clarify that.
Yeah. I just want to quickly respond to that. Sorry, apologies for any miscommunication. Two things. The group link, it's not for, it was specified that it's your project link, not your team's link, like your project team link. So there's a difference between Teams, Microsoft Team, and your teams, your project team's link. That's one. Number two, there will be a group for BAs, but we need to sort out all the allocation first. Everybody needs to be in a group before we can send that information. And if you notice, sometimes we restrict communication on the big group so that people will not miss information. But please put out your eye on communications going on that big group for this first week, because you need those information. Please do not miss anything. We try to send it as early as possible so that I send reminder when needed. But be careful, because there are other groups as well. I mean, other roles taking courses. So yeah, this is part of being a business analyst. You have to have eye for details and pay attention, like rapt attention. So your training has started anyways.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's I hope you'll be able to create that link soon, because it's really, really confusing for me that join with this link, and then now you say, so the links that is under the names of, and the link that is under each list, what will it be used for in future?
It is your project team. You have been assigned to a project team. The link under your list takes you to your project team. There are so many project teams. You see people's names. Every link under those names, under that list, takes people to different project teams. So wherever you find your name, the link under the list under your name takes you to your project team. I don't know if you've clicked on the link.
I have, and it took me to a name called Beta, BETA.
Exactly, that's your project team. That's the project team you'll be working on. You gather requirements for that project. It's a project. So you have been assigned to a project. Each of them are projects.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Tolulope, please.
Good evening, and thanks for taking us through all that. It's been enlightening. I have a few questions. First, at the earlier stage of this meeting, I think it was Boluwatife was talking about project mandates on Teams or Telegram. I know somebody asked a question in between, but I didn't quite get where we are supposed to see that. I know we've got the Tether team, and I've got the group on Telegram, and I've got the Teams whole thing set up, but I still can't find where the project mandate is, and I would like to have a look at that. So can you tell me what that is? That's my first question. Do you want to answer that, or do you just want me to go through all my questions?
Yeah, I think Bolu can answer that straight away before we move to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go to, okay, when you go to Telegram,
okay,
you want to edit your profile name. How do you do it? You open up your name, right?
Yeah, I just click on my profile.
Go to Theta, click on that Theta, the name of your group. You will see an information on that, and you should see your project mandate.
I'm sorry, but I'm doing that right now, and it's not doing that for me. I've got it open, and I'm following it step by step. I'm in Theta, and I'm in the chat right now. Nothing is opening up. Even if I click on the group, it comes up with the members, search, leave, mute, and there's the projects, Apex.
Before you see the members, there should be
Yeah.
an people directly under the name of your project team?
Nothing. I've got open group, search, leave, mute, more.
No,
Project.
To that point, you just need to open up. Okay, yeah, we can take this offline.
Yeah, please. I think that needs to be looked into. Thank you. The other one is I've got an observation. You were talking about the project owner, and I noticed that the project owner assigned to my group is not actually in the Telegram group. So I don't know. Do I just look for them on Telegram or find them on Teams to make the contact as you advised? Because, well, they're not in the Telegram group.
Yeah. A link has been sent to all the members, so probably it will join today or tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So yeah, you did advise earlier to contact them, and I would like to know now. This may sound a bit cheeky or stupid,
but your product owner is already in your team. However, your mentor is not yet in your team.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to say the mentor, not the product owner. Sorry, I got that mixed up. Yeah, so the question I was going to ask, would you advise to contact them through Zoom or Teams? Which do you think is the best method to contact the mentors or the product owner?
Telegram, because it's easier for you to exactly through your project team or Telegram. Yeah, because they'll be in your project team. Just tag them.
All right.
Whoever, it's easier for them to see.
Okay.
And I mean, go to their DM, because that's like the fastest. It's just like being in an organization and you want to to get something very quickly. You rather go through it and quickly type so that the person can respond and it being lost.
All right. Thank you for that. Lastly, what systems do we need to have as BAs for this internship, please?
When you say system, do you mean laptops?
No, I mean like applications.
It will be shared with you as you go, as you get the training for each of them.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I'd missed it somewhere. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And so if there's no other question, I think that's all for me for tonight. Yeah. So over to you, Deji and Bolo here.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for lecture tonight. Really appreciate you. So yeah, I think that's it for tonight. For those that are yet to be allocated to project group, I've sent you DMs. For those that said I've not gotten my project group and you sent me a DM, I've sent you a DM. Please do check and join your project team. And if you still have any issues with your project team, please do send me a DM tonight so that I can sort it as quickly as possible. And yeah, so if there are no other questions, I think that's us for tonight. Good night, everyone. Have a wonderful.
Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.